So in part one of this module, I'm going to give a really brief overview of the SBIR and STTR programs, why you should be aware of them, and what do they actually do? What is the function and purpose of these programs? So the SBIR program stands for Small Business Innovative Research, and essentially it's a way for the government to inject research and development dollars into small businesses. It's really a way for people that have an innovative idea that can't reliably turn it into a commercial product, because the lift on getting it to a commercial product would kind of cripple the business. If it would take too much resources, too much time, would just really cost too much, then these programs are a really great fit. They have been designed to kind of take that critical leap from idea to product that's, quote unquote, on the shelf. So with these programs, it's really essentially an investment by the government. It's an investment for you to grow, for you to be successful, for you to launch something that's really just going to set the world on fire. And the way that the government gets that investment back is by you being successful. You increase your tax base, you hire more people, you pay more wages, and you positively contribute to that economic ecosystem that covers the U.S. Now, under the SBIR program, there's also a sister program called the STTR program, and it stands for Small Business Technology Transfer Research. The STTR program was designed to kind of take those technologies that may be sitting on a shelf, collecting dust, nobody knows what to do with them, out of research institutions. So places like institutes of higher education, federally funded research and development centers, or FFRDCs, and take those ideas that could be really kind of groundbreaking and revolutionary and figure out, can a product be made out of this? Is this something that people need? Is this something that people want? Is this something that people will buy? Now, as these are federal funding opportunities, there are some eligibility requirements for both of them. So the basic eligibility requirements are that they're for-profit small businesses. So you have to be organized for profit. You can't be any other, combination of, nonprofit. They're not for institutes. They're not for educational centers. They're not for research labs. These are designed to be given to a for-profit small business. And small business means that you have to have under 500 employees, including any affiliate companies. So if you're a spin-out, if you're an upside-down corporation, anything like that, both your company as well as the affiliate company have to have a combined total of less than 500 employees. And one thing that kind of always catches people is the company has to be majority U.S. owned. So they have to be residing in the U.S. They have to be owned by 51% or more by U.S. citizens, residents, anyone like that. And that not only do they have to be owned by those individuals, but the company has to be controlled by U.S. individuals. Now, that's not saying that you can't have control of, at least a small portion of control from some foreign investment. But if it is 50% or more, then you don't qualify. And all the research work that's going to go on during your program, during your capture of this opportunity, has to be done within the United States. Now, the STTR program carries one more requirement for eligibility, and it's you have to partner with a research institution. Because again, the entire purpose of that program when it was set up was to move technologies out of research institutions and into commercially viable enterprises. So the STTR and SBIR programs are three-phase programs. They're really designed to kind of follow that innovation, that product launch, that product commercialization pipeline. And phase one is essentially seed funding. It provides anywhere from roughly $50,000 up to about $250,000 over a 6 to 12 month period. And people go, well, that doesn't seem like a lot of money to launch a product. Well, that's because you're not launching the product during your phase one. What you're really doing is you're trying to show that your idea actually has legs, that it's feasible, that this can work. So you're not, if you think about it like a marathon, you're not trying to reach the finish line. You're just trying to reach that first water station, that thing where you go, okay, this might happen. This has potential. This can be something. And if you're successful during that phase one, well, then you move on to a phase two. And that phase two is really kind of that prototype development. It's getting something together that's near market ready. So something that you can almost stamp out in mass production. Because it does require that prototype development, it is more funding and a longer time period. Phase twos are pretty much 24 months. Some of them go a little bit under, some go a little bit over, but kind of think about it for 2 years. And it provides anywhere from $400,000 all the way up to $1.5 million. Now, one thing to kind of note is that with a phase one, you got about a 15% win rate. So that means just across the board, every agency of phase one that is submitted, there's about a 15% success of submission. So about a 15% chance that you're going to get funded. Now, this does increase if you get rejected the first time, and then you go back and you make changes. You look at the reviewer comments. You make your proposal package a little bit better. You address their concerns. A lot of times that can actually lead to doubling or tripling that success rate just because someone's looked at it, someone's pointed out the errors, and you've gone back and made a best faith, chance or try to fix those errors. Now, phase two has about a 45% success chance. And you go, that seems a lot higher than the phase one. Well, but you have to have a successful phase one before you can go after a phase two. There are limited abilities to do things like a direct to phase two, but kind of don't count on it. And the reason that goes up is during that phase one, you've shown that feasibility. You've shown that it can be something. You've shown that there's a market. You've shown that there's a customer. You've shown that there's a need. You've shown that there's a pain point that you can address. And so why wouldn't they fund you on the phase two? That's why it goes up to about half. Now, the thing to realize with the phase three is really your commercialization. So it's you getting out to the market. It's you selling this to people. It's you, stocking it on every end cap of every Walmart across America. That's how you're going to sell it. Or licensing it out to someone. Or, making a partnership for distribution. Whatever that commercial prospect is, that's you reaching that commercial prospect. Now, under the phase three, there really is no direct funding. There's a lot of indirect funding. There's a lot of companion opportunities. There's things like sole source awards, but there's not really an SBIR phase three program where you go, okay, well, now that you have your prototype, here's $5 million to try and commercialize it. At this point, it's really you kind of beating the streets, going out there, shaking hands, making deals, and doing what you need to do to get this into someone else's hands, get this into a customer's hands, and start making revenue, start making profit. So under the SBIR program, there's a certain amount that's set aside from the federal R&D budget, and this is extramural research. So anything that's coming from the outside, the difference really here is, like say someone like NSF, the National Science Foundation, they have a lot of internal funding. Money goes to, certain directorates or certain departments to try and, achieve something, try and do some research, try and fix something. And then they also have opportunities for extramural research. So making awards to things like small businesses, making awards not under SBIR, but under other programs, to large businesses, to universities, to tribal nations, whatever that is. They kind of lump all that together and they go, okay, 3.2% of this is going to be set aside so that it can go into the SBIR programs. This is across the board for every one of the agencies that participates. And the STTR is a little bit different. There's only 5 agencies that participate, and that's because of the numbers. Rather than it being 100 million, it's 1 billion. So really there's only, the 5 big agencies: DoD, NSF, NASA, DOE, and then NIH. So the ones that have and do really kind of hardcore research, the ones that make lots of awards, the ones that, buy lots of products, those are the ones that participate in the STTR program. And just kind of some really quick differences between these two programs. The big one that you need to know of, or let's call it the big two that you need to know of, are under the SBIR, the small business can do 100% of the work. If you can do everything, more power to you. Get 100% of the budget, do 100% of the work. But you can sub-award or subcontract out to someone else for up to 33% of the budget and 33% of the work. Now, while the SBIR program deals in maximums when it comes to a sub-award, the STTR program deals in minimums. Remember, under the STTR program, you have to partner with a research institution. So you are going to have a sub-award for that research institution. And when I mean that it deals in minimums, it's a minimum of 40% of the work and budget goes to the small business. A minimum of 30% of the work and budget goes to the research institution. And then the other 30% is for it to be split how it needs. So if more money needs to go to the small business, more money needs to go to the research institution, and work, of course, to go along with that. Or if you need to bring in other sub-awards, then that's how you get up to your 100%. The other big difference between the SBIR and STTR programs is who can be the PI or principal investigator. So the PI is essentially like the project manager. They're the ones that have the most focus, they're the ones that have the most expertise, and they're the ones that are really responsible for driving the project forward. Under the SBIR program, the PI has to be employed by the small business for at least 51% of their time. So essentially 20.1 hours a week or more. Now under the STTR program, 4 out of 5 of the agencies, with NSF being the holdout, allow for the PI to actually come from the research institution. This means that you don't have to try and hire someone, they don't have to go on sabbatical. It's a lot easier if you are going to be working with a research institution. And one thing to note when it comes to those employment restrictions is it's actually at the time of award. So it doesn't have to be at the time of submission. So that was a really kind of brief overview about the SBIR and STTR programs, what you need to know about them, and kind of what's really critical for your first information. In other parts of this one, we're going to talk about the value of these programs, and we're going to talk about why should you be interested? What do these actually do? And why are they a great tool for small businesses to succeed?